In the next section, you'll be presented with one or more worksheets based on the assessment type you chose earlier. Each worksheet will provide you with a list of PCI requirements and ask you to estimate your costs related to those requirements. Now, some SAQs will only have a couple of worksheets and others will have more, depending on the complexity of your merchant environment. In this video, I will demonstrate how to complete these worksheets and give you a few examples. First, read the description and the examples at the top of the page. Then think about your organization and the technology, people, and processes that you use to meet those requirements over the course of a year. You don't have to know the exact costs, but do your best to remember as many activities as you can and what was required for each one. Now, you can enter these costs in one of three ways. The first method uses the activity cost approach. If you know the number of hours an activity takes each year and the average cost per hour, such as an employee's hourly wage, then you can enter those costs under wage and time. For example, if your network administrator is paid $40 an hour and you estimate that he or she spends around 100 hours per year managing firewall rules related to protecting cardholder data, the worksheet will automatically multiply these together, putting $4,000 into the final column. Now, this part of the worksheet can also be used to enter other recurring costs, such as monthly service fees or quarterly renewals. Just enter the renewal cost under wage and the number of renewals per year under time. For instance, a quarterly network scan that costs $200 per quarter should have a 4 in the time column since there are 4 intervals per year. And that will automatically calculate your network scans at $800 per year. Now, common examples of these sorts of activity costs include any activities directly or indirectly related to PCI compliance. These include studying the PCI standard, employee training, recruiting, maintaining security controls, of course, performing log reviews, or hiring outsourced security contractors. Also, consider that affected staff within your organization may include team members outside of the IT organization. So consider building security, HR, risk, project management, accounting, help desk, and even management. The last worksheet in the series will ask you to estimate the costs of the assessment process. So whether that's done internally or whether you bring in a qualified security assessor, you'll want to remember those costs as well, and those can be recorded on the final page. The second approach captures capital expenditures and automatically calculates annual cost using a straight line depreciation method. For any purchase that will affect your compliance over multiple years, you can enter the original purchase price under asset cost, then estimate how much you might be able to sell that asset for when you're done using it under the scrap value column. Or, of course, if this is not relevant, just leave this field blank. Then finally, guesstimate how many years you might reasonably expect to use that asset before it will be retired or replaced. This is not an exact science, so just take your best guess. The worksheet then will automatically calculate the annual cost using that straight line depreciation method. For example, if you purchase a firewall, let's put that right here, and the cost of that firewall was originally $10,000, and perhaps you'll expect to sell it for around $2,000 when you're done using it, because it will be, of course, used equipment at that point. And you might expect that you'll use that particular device for around 10 years before you retire it. So here you can see that the asset cost of $10,000 minus the scrap value of $2,000 is $8,000. But we're going to divide that by 10 because we want to find out what the annual cost of that particular asset purchase would be as it pertains to your annual PCI compliance. So that calculates automatically as being $800 per year. Now, of course, if this is the first year that you've become compliant, you've probably spent quite a bit of time rewriting policies or purchasing equipment. And while it's a good idea to review your policies each and every year, you certainly won't need to spend as much time next year as you did this year. So even though a policy is not a physical asset, you can still itemize these using the one-time costs in the same way. So, for instance, if you know that you spent around $4,000 on efforts pertaining to writing those policies, of course you can't sell them when you're done, so we'll leave the scrap value empty. And perhaps you expect that you'll need to revisit those and perhaps rewrite those in around 5 years. So that also comes out to be $800. Again, $4,000 divided by 5. Of course, there's the final way to enter data into this worksheet is simply to, if you already know the exact cost of a specific item, just enter that into the subtotal column. So for instance, if an annual license fee for your software security updates costs $1,000, you can enter that directly into the subtotal column. Now this worksheet method should allow you to estimate your costs rather quickly. I recommend using the comment column to jot down a quick note to help you keep track of which costs you've already recorded. So this was software updates, and this was policies. That way, as you move forward, you can review and ensure that you haven't overlooked anything or enter duplicate costs. If you get interrupted in the process, simply scroll down to the bottom of the page and click Save and Continue Later, right here. This will allow you to email yourself a custom link that will let you pick up right where you left off on any computer. Just don't forget to come back and complete the survey, as I'm counting on your response. And once you feel that you've captured all of the relevant costs within the worksheet, just click the Next button to continue. Now I've put a link at the bottom of every worksheet to this video, so if you need a quick refresher later on, you'll have quick access to this video. Thank you so much again for your contribution to this research, and remember, when you submit your response, you'll have an opportunity to request a copy of the final dissertation research, including my step-by-step process for benchmarking your costs against similar organizations and help improve your cost effectiveness of your PCI security program.